You ready to do this, Matt?
Yes, sir. Punch it, Chewie.
Welcome, super friends, to the Fortress of Nerditude podcast, a safe place to talk about all things in nerd and pop culture. I'm Spencer Stapleton, and my co-pilot is Matt Shaw. We're two nerds that just refuse to grow up. Thank you for joining us. This is episode 144. We release every Thursday morning. You can find us on our website, fortanerd.com. We have links to iTunes, Google Music, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, and everywhere podcasts are available. Stop by and relax a while. If you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button and get us automatically each and every week in your ear holes. Matt, what is going on?
You know, life is good. There's a lot going on.
Well, I'm glad it's good.
Life is good and there's a lot going on. It's been a fun week and a really good week. And I must say, I saw a really great movie that I enjoyed a lot. And I went with my brother and we saw Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I think it's what it's called.
Really?
The Guillermo del Toro movie. Semi-scary. Really great. Like, really cool creatures. Cool story. I mean, the acting is fine, I guess. But It was creepy. It was creepy without, like, over-the-top, like, jump scares all the time. Or, like, it's not what you would expect from, like, a horror film. Usually all PG-13 horror films are like the same. It's like The Grudge and The Ring and those kinds of things. But it was really good. It was a really good movie.
I remember reading those books in like elementary school, like 4th, 5th grade when they came out. But I don't know. Oh, man, I never even thought about a movie version of them.
So, yeah, from what I understood, it's kind of an anthology story. Like all the stories that the kids read. I didn't read these books. My family members did. Apparently, I skipped it. But they make it into a cohesive plot. So it's like one story with these mini segments with these different vignettes, creatures. Yeah. But it all made sense as like one cohesive plot. Really cool. So that was one of my highlights this week. I got to get away and see a movie with my brother. So that was fun.
Cool.
It was a good week, though.
You still playing that Red Dead Redemption 2?
I played a little bit. What I did do with my brother, again, he's big gamer.
Okay.
And we played the Call of Duty beta on PS4 this weekend. The 2v2. That was a freaking blast.
Nice.
We played for hours on Friday and Saturday, and it was so fun. So I never was big into first-person shooters because that just never was my forte, being kind of a Nintendo guy. They don't have a lot of those, so I was always a platformer.
Yeah, right.
My whole life I've been a platformer, and I can dominate. But, man, that was so much fun. I might have to pick it up. It was a blast. So had a great time with that. And then, then on Saturday we went to the beach, threw Emmy in the car, took her grandma, grandpa, and we had a great time. Just like a 2.5 hour drive to Corpus Christi from where we live. So we drove down to Corpus and spent a couple of hours on Saturday out in the sun on the beach. And it was a great day.
How'd she like that?
She loved it. She remembers last year when we went. She had a great time last year. She's been talking about the beach for months because she's seen it on TV or she's heard people mention it, like Jesse and I. We've talked about going. We just haven't made it out. It's been kind of a crazy summer. So she was super excited. And when she got there, she's a little nervous of the waves, but she got used to it real fast. And her cousins were there, so she had a great time. It was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was action-packed, fun weekend, fun week. And, we'll talk more about some of the things that I kept my ear to the ground for later on here in this podcast. But that was also a big part of my weekend, is being up to date on D23, and I'm excited about a whole lot of things. So it was great.
Cool. I had a busy week. So obviously last week we did the old office move, but then like the rest of the week was just so much stuff going on and super busy. And so I got a chance to finally mow the backyard.
Yes.
And it was one of those times where it's like, it's been like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And so like I had to weed whack like gratuitously in order just to get the mower out. And then the mower kept choking on all the wet grass. And it took me hours. And to be honest, it wasn't even that like good of a mow job. It was passable, but like I know I've got to go and mow it again.
Right.
And so it's like, so I've got that coming up. So, just what it is, right? It's you're a father, you're a husband, you own property, you got to take care of that property.
Yep.
So there was some of that in this weekend. This last weekend, we were pretty busy. I had a motorcycle club event. We had a new member become a full member. That was a lot of fun. And then we did some axe throwing after that with the club. And I'd never gone to an axe throwing. And when I say axe throwing, it was more like hatchets.
Okay.
It wasn't like a big full length axe. It wasn't like don't think of this as like Gimli, style axes. This was like more like hatchets.
Gotcha.
But they told you, they said there's 3 different ways. One is you can take it one-handed and it's almost kind of like shooting a basket, kind of the same motion of like you bring your elbow up about a 45-degree angle and then you snap your arm forward.
Okay.
And you're facing it forward. So you do it that way, one-handed, or you can two-hand it and put it over your head, raise it over your head and then throw it. Mm-hmm. Or you can throw it underhanded, kind of almost like bowling, except you don't do all the fancy footwork.
Whoa. I
could not, for the love of me, get anything to stick in on the underhanded method.
Okay.
The two-handed over the head method I found to be really kind of cumbersome for hatchets. I mean, I know it's doable. I had a couple that got really close, but didn't quite get it. But the one-handed method, I got into a rhythm and I was hitting like 5 for 5 where like I'm like putting them in like tight groupings.
Nice.
And then I was going like 7 for 8. And I got to the point where like I started looking and I was burying those hatchets in the exact same way with the exact same rotation in tight groupings over and over. Like I felt like this rhythm. And I was just like, okay, right here and thunk. Next one, thunk. Next one, thunk. One after another after another. And I was like, this is ingenious. This is fun. But I was also really like taken with the whole idea of like, this was like a storage space and like kind of like a little strip mall. And it was like on the backside. And it literally is just a whole bunch of like 2x4s that they kind of make into some walls with some like metal chain link fence stuff. And then like the wood, there was like $10 a person for like an hour. And we had like 8 of us there. I was like, man, you can make some pretty good money on something like that with not a lot of like setup.
Yeah.
I do imagine though the insurance is probably going to be the big thing that'll get you.
Oh yeah.
You have to sign waivers that say, you can't, hold them liable, whatever. But anyway, needless to say, like those things are popping up all over the place around here right now. Smart little business idea. It was a lot of fun. That's something I'm definitely going to go do again.
Okay.
So yeah, that was good. And then what else? Brita and I started watching Shazam again the other night.
Yeah. We
kind of started it late, so we only got maybe about halfway through, hoping to maybe finish tonight before I go to bed.
Right.
But man, that's a fun movie.
Fun. Yeah, totally.
Such a fun movie. I'd forgotten like how much I really enjoyed that.
Yep.
Other than that, I started playing Apex again. I haven't touched it in almost like 3 full weeks. And I got back in, and they're currently for by the time the podcast comes out, this will be over, but they were running for a limited time solos, where instead of a squad of 3, you run solo.
Yeah.
And I haven't got a win in that, because like I said, I've only played it like for 2 days, maybe, since I kind of was able to come up for a breath of air. But I did get second place twice.
Ooh.
So I was pretty happy with that. What else, man? Just everything else is just kind of the same. I mean, I'm still listening to the Wheel of Time series. I'm on book 3, The Dragon Reborn. I'm really enjoying that. Super Friends, if you haven't read or listened to The Wheel of Time and you like fantasy novels, it is really, really good. Like on a second listen through, because I've gone through the series once a number of years back, but on a second listen through, like I'm just appreciating so much more of it, maybe even more than I did the first time.
Nice.
So
it's a sign of a good series.
Yeah, it really is. But other than that, it's just everything else is kind of the same, work and dealing with kids. Kids just started back to school stuff. So like trying to figure out the new daycare and them taking the little van over from the daycare to the school and then getting picked back up and just, trying to help them feel comfortable and helping the kids figure out like, Charlie, like this is where you go to get your milk at lunchtime because he hasn't, I guess today was the first day he did hot lunch. Otherwise, he's just kind of bringing his own lunch.
Yeah.
And so, like, all last week, I'd say, well, buddy, did you get a milk to drink? He's like, no, I didn't know where to go get it and get in the line. I'm like, what did you drink? He's like, I ate my lunch and then I got some water from the water fountain later. I'm like, dude.
So sad.
I know. I was just like, just go up and get a milk. He's like, I didn't know. So I figured, It's like, oh my goodness, it's milk. You'll be fine. But now he's gone through the hot lunch line, so he kind of sees where the milk is. So tomorrow, I think he's supposed to take. I don't think he wants to have the ravioli, so I think he's going to take his own lunch. So I'm hoping that he goes and gets some milk because
report back.
He knows where it's at.
Yeah, no
Come
excuses,
on, kid.
Charlie. No excuses.
No excuses, Charlie. Get that milk, and he does listen to the podcast. Sometimes. So, Charlie, go in line. Daddy says go in line and get a milk. Okay? Good. All right. Like how now I'm going to start like lecturing my
Talking
child
to
through
your
the
children.
podcast. Yeah.
Smart. Emmy will start listening now too.
Yeah. Listen here, Emmy. Be like Charlie and Jackson. Go get your own milk.
Yes.
Good.
Golly, that child.
How is things going on the baby front? Baby Watch 2019.
Yeah, it's good. So far, so good. Jesse went to the doctor this morning, actually. And Emmy had the choice because I work from home, she had the choice. Do you want to go with mommy to her doctor or do you want to stay with daddy and play? And I'm like, this is an obvious choice. Like, I'm the coolest. So she's definitely going to choose me. No. She wanted to go to the doctor with mommy. Wow. So she went to the doctor with mommy. And she came back. She goes, Daddy, I heard Lando's heart. I heard his heart. I was like, oh my gosh. She's like, so scary. It's like, yeah, it is kind of scary when they put
so
it like, whoa. That noise is scary. But yeah, so everyone is happy and healthy so far. I mean, Jesse's shockingly uncomfortable, but
surprise,
to be expected.
Has she given the "you did this to me" lecture yet?
Thankfully, no.
Okay.
We're not, she's,
She hasn't turned her last couple months
not
of pregnancy
yet.
ire on you yet. Yeah.
No. I mean, it's not comfortable, and I get I think this is the last one kind of vibe and look. I'm like, I get that, girl. Yeah. No complaints from me, man. You kind of are steering this ship, right? You tell me what's cool and what's not, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so when we had Charlie and kind of went through that, she was like, yeah, I mean, I still want at least one more, maybe some more, we'll have to see. And we didn't think we were able to get pregnant because it took us like 2.5 years and like doctors and medicine. And I pulled the famous like, we'll be fine.
Oh, yeah.
5 months after Charlie was born, we were pregnant again.
Oh, man.
So don't listen to me if I say we'll be fine when it comes to that, because apparently I'm not right.
Depends on what fine means, I guess. But
yeah. So then it was like such a quick follow up.
Yeah, that's quick.
And
yikes.
And so like we kind of did the math, and it was like we figured out like out of just a little over 2-year straight period, she was pregnant for like 18 months out of something like 27 months.
Oh man.
So, I mean, just a little over 2 years, she was, pregnant for almost that entire stretch with just a little bit of a respite.
Yeah.
But that respite was also like newborn baby and not sleeping and, all that.
Oh, yeah.
But when Jackson was born, she looked at me and she was like, done. I was like, well, I thought you wanted a little girl. She's like, no, because we'll get another little boy And as like we've gotten further and further, now Jackson's 5 now, but as we've gotten further and further away from that, people will always ask us, oh, are you going to have more? Are you going to have more? And part of me kind of still feels like I would be open to the idea, potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially. I'm not saying like I necessarily want to, but I'm potentially open to at least having a discussion about that idea.
Yeah.
No, not Brita.
Nope.
Not so much.
Not happening.
That is pretty much like after Jackson's born, she's like, and we're done.
Hey.
And really, she drives that ship, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're just along for the ride.
So yeah.
I get it. Yeah.
I understand. You'll have to report back after Lando's born and after a little bit of time has gone by and see if Jesse, still feels that way then, because if he's an easy baby, maybe she would consider again. Yep. But if he's not an easy baby, that's like the quickest way to cement the nope, we're done. For sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
So now, remind me again, the due date is like end of October.
4th.
October 4th, beginning of October.
We got like 1 month. The baby could come, in the next few weeks.
Why do I keep thinking end of October for some reason?
You want it to be a demon Halloween child?
No, I remember why. It's because I keep thinking of Lando and the little pencil mustache and the little cape. You're going to dress him up for Halloween.
Yep.
And so in my mind, you talking about dressing him up for Halloween equates to he's being born at Halloween time. I don't know why, but
no, that's fine.
Yeah. Did you let your mom listen to last week's podcast and let her listen to me get up on my soapbox about he'll be fine?
I haven't asked her if she's listened to it.
He'll be fine, Mama Shaw. He'll be fine.
He will be. He will be. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Photoshop.
There's too many variables with a young child anyway. So
if they really put up resistance, just Photoshop.
There you go.
Yeah, that'll work. I think I photoshopped like a little tattoo onto Charlie's arm when he was like an infant or really, really young. So
my
mom did not think that was funny. Yeah, she did not find that very funny. Anyway, what do you say? Should we move this party along a little bit and kill some Bothans?
Let's demolish the Bothans.
Demolish? Ooh. I always have to let you know, many Bothans died to bring us this information.
Rest in peace, you Bothans.
All right, Matt, the wrecking ball has swung through and smashed Bothans. There's pieces everywhere. It's really kind of gory.
It's disgusting.
What do you have for me this week?
So here's something that's kind of cute and adorable. Actually, it is both those things, cute and adorable. So Nickelodeon is going to debut a brand new little mini series that is a prequel to Jurassic World. It's called Lego Jurassic World: Legend of Isla Nublar.
Isla Nublar, yeah,
which is the place.
So when you said a mini series,
13 episodes. It's a
mini
CG.
As in the mini figs.
Now I get it. Now I get it.
Yeah. How about that? Huh?
Yes, that's clever. So it is going to follow our protagonists, Owen and Claire, played by Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard in the movies, not voicing in the TV shows though, or in this series. So it says they just kind of deal with minor park issues that lead up to things going, way down south, as we saw in Jurassic World.
Okay. So I like stuff like that. That sounds like something that my kids would watch.
Absolutely. It's cute. And Lego Star Wars is cute. And it's funny. At times it's genuinely funny. I've enjoyed it.
So I really enjoy like a lot of the Lego games, and one of my favorite was Lego Lord of the Rings, which only came out like on Xbox 360 and PS3. And every now and again, I get a hankering to replay that game because it was the first time they used like movie dialogue in a Lego game.
Yeah.
I still have my PS3 and I still have that game, but it's just like, do I really want to hook it up? Do I really want to play the game that much? And I just wish that it would have came to PS4. I just really do. But
the only ones I've played are the Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, of course.
Which they're funny and adorable.
Mm-hmm.
And Lego Lord of the Rings sounds fantastic too.
Oh, it's so
It
good.
sounds so cute. Oh, I love it.
It's so good. Okay, so here's something I got for you.
Okay.
You're a brand new PS4 owner. I know you have not played the Uncharted series of games, of which there's 4 games in the main series. I highly recommend, Matt, you go out and get the Nathan Drake collection. That's the first 3 games in like one disc, basically. You can get that probably for like $20 now.
Oh, okay.
New. And then Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 is phenomenal. I platinumed that game.
Okay.
But the Uncharted series, it's kind of like a cross between Lara Croft and Indiana Jones. But what's interesting is that for a while now, there's been, the reports that there's going to be an Uncharted movie, and then we know that Dan Trachtenberg, who directed 13 Cloverfield Lane, was going to direct this movie. It's going to star Tom Holland as kind of like a younger version of Nathan Drake. Well, this week, according to Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter, Trachtenberg's left Sony Pictures adaptation of the Uncharted film. He joined back in like January because it's kind of gone through a few. It's gone through a couple different writers, but apparently Tom Holland is still on board to play Nathan Drake. And the idea of the movie is supposed to be kind of like a younger Nathan Drake, maybe kind of him figuring out, what he will become later in his like treasure hunting days going forward. The video game series is so good. It's a Naughty Dog product, so it's got great storytelling. So like these movies, while they're fun to play, the story still is really good as well. And it almost gives it that cinematic quality at times. And so there's so many big fans of this series that want to see this adapted into a film. And I feel like it's like we take 2 steps forward and then we take 1 step back on this thing.
Yeah.
So will it happen? Yes, but I feel like it's going to end up being like a Jumanji, where it could have been something serious, like the new Jumanjis. Like it could have been something serious. It could have been something a little cooler, but then it kind of, goes for like the cheap laugh or the cheap whatever. And like, I just feel like the longer this goes on, where it gets directors and loses directors and, actors and whatever, like, I just feel like inevitably towards the end, it's going to be like let's just put this out just to get it. And Sony Pictures has had some problems putting out some really good movies lately, in my opinion, especially movies that are either adaptations of comic books or like big fandom stuff. Like obviously like the Venom movie. Like I know there's people that are going to swear up and down, and I'm going to hear about it, that say Venom was really, really good. But I talked to a lot of people that are fans, and they said Venom wasn't that great. And the critics ripped it apart. They struggled so much to put together a quality Spider-Man product in the last, couple iterations that Sony did just on their own, that I'm worried for the future of the Uncharted movie.
And understandable.
Yeah.
Completely. Yes. I don't have much faith in Sony Pictures either, the way that they've handled certain products and franchises that I like. It's been questionable at best. I would say, wow, you really screwed this up, is really what I would probably say if I were to. It's just, So I get it. That doesn't sound super promising. But Tom Holland, that is promising. I love him. He's fantastic. So that's the good thing it's got going for it. But
does it though?
I don't know.
That does. But here's the problem. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, though. Yeah. And it has to do with Tom Holland. And it has to do with Sony Pictures. Yep. And it has to do with Marvel. So this week, there was kind of a bombshell that was dropped, right?
Oh, bad. I texted you about it right when I saw it. I was like, we have to talk about this, and it's so stupid.
I know. And I wanted to text you back, and I was in the middle of like about 1,000 things at work.
Yep.
and I saw that text and I went, I don't have time for this.
My heart.
But I want to know. I'm like, I've got to schedule a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Because that's, when I get a free minute to read something, right?
Right.
So, Spider-Man in the MCU. We could be seeing the end of those days rather quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, currently, negotiations between Sony and Marvel, Disney, here we'll say, they've kind of broken down. And they've come to an impasse.
Yes.
So, let's break this down a little bit. So, the original terms of the agreement was that Disney would get 5% of the movie revenue of any Spider-Man movie with Spider-Man in the MCU.
Right.
In exchange that they would get 100% of the licensing for merchandise of Spider-Man. On top of that, Kevin Feige, who's obviously the brainchild over at the MCU, he's running everything. He also had to be heavily involved in any Spider-Man projects that were going to be done with Sony Pictures. Like he basically what Sony wanted is that they wanted any Spider-Man property, any Spider-Man film that was going to be strictly a kind of a Sony thing, to have some crossover characters, to completely have the feel, look, everything of the MCU, but still to have Sony's name on it.
Right.
That's like the original agreement, which, if you look at it, I mean, Spider-Man Far From Home has made what, like $1 billion worldwide?
Yep.
So 5% of $1 billion, that's not, I mean, if they had more, that obviously would be better, right?
Of course.
However, they do have 100% of the merchandising.
Yeah.
And I have no clue how much merchandise they're selling with Spider-Man on it.
Right.
But every single time I saw anything for like Civil War or any of the Avengers stuff, Far From Home, Homecoming, like Spider-Man's on everything right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that Disney's making money there. And I would assume that they're making more money on merchandising than the actual film revenue. I would assume.
Yeah, I would think. Well, when you're only making 5%, yeah, I'd probably agree with that. Because you're 5% is not a lot.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
It's really not a lot. So here's where, according to a number of sources, the problem happened during negotiations. Marvel MCU, Disney, those folks came back to Sony and said they wanted 50% of the movie gross.
Right.
Because they feel like, hey, we're using the actor that we hired to do this. We're putting in a lot of the effort, the writing and the directing and giving it the MCU touch.
Yep.
Because let's be honest, these last two Spider-Man movies have made a lot of money for Sony Pictures. And they weren't going to get anywhere near that money if it wasn't a Spider-Man kind of MCU Spider-Man.
Right.
So that happens. This is what they say. Sony walks away from the table and says, no way. Because they've got a great deal. They're making bank off the movies. Yep. But, of course, they don't have any of the licensing and merchandise. Well, Sony kind of came back. So here's the thing is like, we're getting all this in pieces. Sony came back and said one of the reasons why they kind of balked at the thing is that they also know that with Kevin Feige's new responsibilities, because he's working on all the Marvel stuff, and we've got a bunch of stuff coming up for Disney Plus,
right?
That he's going to be involved in that stuff, that they really don't think that he's going to have the time to work on intellectual property that Marvel doesn't own.
Right.
Basically saying like Marvel doesn't own Spider-Man, so therefore what's the real likelihood that Kevin Feige's really going to be working on Spider-Man and working on it a ton.
Right.
And so they're kind of coming back there. So it's this back and forth,
right.
like it's this, it's that. So of course the internet's going nuts, Matt.
Oh, I was I've been on top of this, which is really the reason that Sony, I think that's really the reason that Sony put out the statement the following day, is because of the backlash on social media and Reddit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like trending, like the top topics on Reddit were just all bashing Sony, assuming Sony is the problem here, because
Right.
that's what we all assumed. That was my initial reaction too, was, oh, come on, like, you're nothing. You have proven time and time again that you will screw up Spider-Man if you're left to your own devices. You've made a couple great ones. Back with Tobey Maguire, you made one of my all-time favorite movies in Spider-Man 2. No doubt about it. But then you really screwed it up with Spider-Man. Anyway, could go on and on. But I think that's the reason they put that statement out, and I call bullcrap on their statement as well, making it sound like this is all Disney's fault and Disney's choice, and we're disappointed that Disney walked away, and I'm not buying it. I think both sides are playing the PR game. I think eventually they're going to have to come to the table, because I just can't see Sony being able to do this on their own, but I guess I don't know.
So here's my hot take on this, right? I think that this is a clever ploy on the part of Marvel, if they were the ones that leaked this, or Sony if they were the one, because I could see it coming from either way. Yep. But they have to negotiate. And the only reason we found out about this whole idea, that there was originally discussions about this whole idea of coming together way back when, was due to that North Korea hacking of Sony and releasing all that information, right?
Yeah.
This was like 2014, 2015, somewhere around there. And then the public found out about it. And so the public put a lot of pressure on these two companies saying, make it happen. And then they came back to the negotiation table and they've worked out a deal.
Right.
So here we are now. Negotiations are breaking down again. If this is Sony that's leaking this and saying, well, we don't think Kevin's going to have the time and this, that, and the other, that would be a great ploy to put a lot of pressure on Disney from its fans to maybe say, look, you're making a ton of money, like stick to the original agreement or re-sign up with a new agreement.
Yeah.
You got all this other stuff going on. You you just had a whole bunch of stuff change in Endgame. Don't drop the ball with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's one of Marvel's biggest characters of all time.
Yep.
Don't do this. Now, if it's Marvel putting the pressure, that could also be a genius, because Marvel could be putting the pressure with the fans saying, like, Sony, you're going to screw the pooch on this. You should just be happy to take 50%, because if you do this, you're not going to get anywhere near 50% of that revenue if you do your own Spider-Man movie, because you're going to have to recast. You're not going to be able to use Tom Holland. Now you're going to be into your fourth iteration of Spider-Man in how many years with a fourth actor? Like, it's going to... People aren't going to want to give it another chance again. They're going to say you had gold and you dropped the ball because you were too greedy.
Absolutely agree. However, Sony Pictures and Tom Holland have both said that he is still signed up for another movie or two. So they don't lose Tom Holland. However, I mean, if you've seen Far From Home, I don't see how they can continue in any meaningful way with the storyline as is. It's almost like they would have to ignore, especially that ending. They would have to ignore it as if it didn't happen. You can't have Happy in it, I assume. You can't talk about Avengers, Tony Stark. That's the whole thing.
See,
that's
exactly
thing.
Right. Yep. That's exactly right. Is that they've tied him so well story-wise into the MCU that they would have to just completely stop talking about it, write it in a way that like basically invalidates everything, or you have to ignore it or just forget it like it never happened,
right?
Which would destroy the narrative, which would destroy the forward progress. Mm-hmm. I think this is all just a big smoke and mirrors. This is Mysterio. This is Mysterio working here. He's playing his games.
Yep, I agree.
And they're going to come to a deal. I don't see how they don't. I don't see how they financially would leave so much money on the table for both parties. Both parties benefit.
I agree.
Now it's just who's willing to cave. Is Marvel really asking for that much more? And are they willing to back off that sum and come down? Or is Sony realizing, that, hey, we can give up a little bit, and because we know we'll make more in the long run if we still have Disney involved in this, for multiple pictures to come. I mean,
yep,
they're going to come to the table.
I agree. Their negotiations will happen again, and everyone will praise both parties, and then they'll both get great PR, and both of their stock will go up, and everything's going to be great. And it will turn out to be one of the brilliant moves. I agree. It's just both just PR.
However, right now we're just playing the game.
We're in limbo, and I don't like it because I don't like thinking about Spider-Man not being in that universe because I've enjoyed it way more than I thought that I would, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm a big Spider-Man guy, and this has been way more fun than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
He's what pulled me back into it.
They've done it right.
He's what pulled me back into all the Marvel movies. I was getting burnt out, and then Civil War happened, and I was like, wait, my boy is in this film. I gotta see it. Yeah, I think a lot of people may or may not feel that way, but regardless, when the snap was undone, Spider-Man got the biggest cheers every single time I went and saw the movie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yes. Everybody loves him. He's an all-time favorite. He's the only one I ever cared about my whole life.
Listen, out of all the characters Stan Lee created, he said that he's was the closest and the most similar to Spider-Man, and that's the closest to his heart of all time. And you can tell because I think he's the closest to the heart of so many Marvel fans.
Yeah. Yep.
Make it happen. I don't care. I don't care which side has to cave. Someone cave. Realize there's too much money.
Yep.
Keep this train a rolling.
Love it. That's our message. If you're listening, Bob Iger, please.
Mr. Sony, I don't know who's over in charge of Sony
Mr.
Pictures.
Sony, you have screwed up so many things in the past. Don't do it now. Anyway.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. So that's the last thing we have for Rebel Intelligence. We're going to keep Rebel Intelligence a little short this week because we got a lot of other stuff we're going to get into. So let's go to our question of the week from last week. What do you say?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it.
So last week we talked about Fellowship of the Ring. It was our movie club, and we posed the question, what is your favorite adaptation, from either a book or a comic or a TV or whatever to a movie that you feel is like the most accurate adaptation? And we got quite a number of answers. So let's start over on our email like we always do, which is fortofnerd@gmail.com. This is Peter Christensen. He says, Dear Nerds, some personal movie follow-up. I bought Alita Battle Angel and rewatched it this week. My previous opinion stands. It's probably the fourth best world-building movie after Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, and Avatar, and visually stunning in every way. But they tried to fit too much in the last 15 minutes, and it ruins a nice tidy plot by trying too hard to set up a sequel. It's ironic. If they'd focused on making the movie outstanding from start to finish, then demand for the sequel would have taken care of itself. I definitely would have watched this 2 to 5 times a week if it had come out when I was a kid.
Interesting.
I'm going to have to give that a watch.
Yeah, I've never seen it. It wasn't well received, so it was not high on my priority list.
That's when it comes to Netflix type or Hulu type that I'll watch it, that sort of thing.
Yep.
Just because I wasn't super into it, but I'm gonna watch it. Peter recommended it. I'm gonna watch it. He says, I also saw the new Lion King. It was impressive, but I felt like it had less emotion than the cartoon because the realistic animal faces can't do human expression. It reminded me of Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within. It was also less dramatic than a nature documentary because of the time the animals spent standing around talking. Many of the famous actors doing voices couldn't make up for the unexpressive animal faces, but John Oliver as Zazu, as well as Timon and Pumbaa, killed it. That was something I didn't think about, right? Because they were using kind of the live action kind of, animals, that kind of whole idea. That, when you have the animated, you got the anthropomorphic, so they can
do... The big eyes.
Yeah, you can do the more human facial expressions and stuff, which helps really contribute to the overall tone and context of the dialogue. and the emotions. So yeah, that's something I didn't even think about. It says, during the movie, I daydreamed of the cast for the reboot of Disney's Sword in the Stone. Mike from Stranger Things as Wart, Chris Hemsworth as Kay, Billy Crystal channeling Miracle Max as Merlin, Melissa McCarthy as Madam Mim, and John Goodman as Sir Ector. I'd also have John Oliver as Archimedes the Owl. Let's go ahead and make him all of the Disney birds. He should have been Iago in Aladdin as well.
No. Okay, I agree with... He said John Oliver, right? As all the birds. Yeah. John Oliver's fantastic. One of my favorite actor comedians. But Iago was perfect. Okay? My opinion. Iago was perfect.
Who was Iago again?
I don't know. He sounds like Tim Curry, but it's the other one. It's kind of... I always get confused with Tim Curry. He's like, what? I don't know how to do it.
Is it Billy Eichner? No. He was one of Pumbaa or Timon.
No, the guy who did Iago in Aladdin. What is... I'm talking Aladdin, the animated movie.
The animated? Oh, that's Gilbert Gottfried.
Thank you. Gosh.
Yeah.
That's the guy's name. Freak. Anyway, I have not seen Lion King yet. I really want to see Lion King, though. That's one of those movies where the critics gave it like a 40 and everybody else gave it like a 92. And you're like, well, there's a discrepancy here. It's the #1 animated film of all time. Just by the way, we'd never covered that in Rebel Intelligence. I saw that a couple weeks ago. But #1 animated film of all time.
I believe it. He goes on and says, Spencer, your story about setting up the new office reminds me of the 90-90 rule of software development. The first 90% of the code accounts for the first 90% of the development time. The remaining 10% of the code accounts for the other 90% of development time. Yep, that sounds about right. When it comes to fast food burgers, I would have a Wendy's single with the Five Guys grocery bag full of fries. Wait, so if he was doing the burger challenge,
he's a Five Guy fry guy.
Five Guy fry guy.
Does he like it with that Cajun seasoning or whatever the heck they put on their fries? That's your question for the week, Peter Christensen. Do you like it with the seasoning?
Do you like the Cajun fries?
Or do you like it straight up?
He says, for the special effects in The Fellowship of the Ring, I feel the same way I did about Avatar. They felt ahead of their time, but they must have been 20 years plus ahead of their time because they still look better than my current movies. I had been on my LDS mission for 2 years, and this was one of the first movies I saw in a theater after I got home, and it blew me away more than any theater movie since Terminator 2. For the question of the week, I feel like your choice of Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter have to be two canonical film adaptations. Jurassic Park has to be up there, and the first Percy Jackson movie is a good example of where the movie changed a lot from the book, but everything was in the service of making the movie better. Mm-hmm. Jurassic Park is a really good adaptation from book to a movie. And I forget about that too, because the book is so good. But it's literally the movie minus a couple interesting changes maybe at the end, and a little greater detail into some of the science behind the making of the dinosaurs.
I see.
But very, very close. He says, my Traeger saga continues. Long story short, I'm scheduling a warranty service to come fix it. The delicious smoked meat remains on the horizon.
Something to look forward to.
Definitely something to look forward to, Peter. Oh, man, I feel so bad for the guy. They pop for the Traeger and it breaks right out the gate.
Ask them where they really got it.
Costco, man.
Did they really get it from Costco? That's what I'm saying. Ask your wife.
Or are you saying, like, did it fall off the back of a truck?
Yeah, or did you just get it on the black market? Is this really a Traeger? Check the spelling and see what it says. Could have gotten a knockoff.
It's a Traeger. Huh. Oh, no.
Interesting. Anyway, yes, question of the week continues.
Okay, so let's go over to Facebook, which is facebook.com/FordofNerd. We've got Caleb Albers. Unpopular opinion. Super Mario Brothers.
What? Accurate?
Totally joking.
Oh my gosh.
Totally joking. But could you imagine?
Oh man.
He says, anyway, I think the Harry Potter series was a pretty solid choice for this question of the week. But I'm going to go to an absolute classic, Wizard of Oz. I'd only ever read the book after seeing the movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed both iterations of this story. For the most part, I usually prefer one or the other. For example, I actually prefer most of the Harry Potter books to the movies.
Agreed.
but I feel the story of The Wizard of Oz is a timeless story, and I love both tellings of it.
I didn't know
That's
it was
a
a
good
book,
one.
straight up.
Oh,
I
really?
didn't know. And I'd forgotten Jurassic Park was a book, so I'm being reminded and or learning new things.
Frank L. Baum is the author of the Wizard of Oz books. Now, he wrote a bunch. Like, there was the Wizard of Oz, but there's also like Return to Oz and like a whole bunch of others. Like, he's got something like, I want to say 5, 7, 10 Oz type of books in that world. So, Wizard of Oz, good one, Caleb. I really, really like that. Let's go over to the Twitters. So, over on Twitter at Fort of Nerd, network-newbie at dspin67. I'm just going to say this right now, Derek. I'm taking your nerd card if you don't rectify this. I'm just telling you right now.
Uh-oh.
I can't say Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings as I haven't read or watched them. Repeat, hasn't read or watched them.
That's like...
That's like wrong.
It's... Oh, I don't know how
It
it's...
hurts. It just hurts. Right here in the feels.
Well, what did he say?
He says, I'm going to say the Polar Express. I've watched and read it both with my sons. I would even throw Jurassic Park in there.
Okay, another Jurassic Park vote. But you've seen the Polar Express, which is the weirdest movie I've ever seen. I would have to check, make sure I wasn't high. But you haven't seen Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. Oh my gosh.
But in fairness, book to movie adaptation, the Polar Express is probably pretty close. I mean, it's a children's book and there's not a lot to it.
Yeah. It's creepy and weird, though.
Derek,
let's just move on. Move on before we ruminate too much on this.
No. Come on, buddy. Come on. I understand that, like, you're talking, if you're watching especially the extended editions, that's like a 12-hour time commitment. If you're going to watch all of the Harry Potters, you're anywhere from like 16 to 20 hours, depending. But here's the deal. You don't start eating an elephant by swallowing the whole thing at once. You start with a single bite and you just go bite after bite. So like, start small, start watching one of the Harry Potter movies. Or even better, I don't know, I can't remember the age of your kids. Start reading them the Harry Potter books. And then work through the series. And like, as you read and they get older, then the books get a little bit, longer and a little more mature for the kids. Like, they'll kind of grow with them. And I would be surprised if we don't have this conversation a couple years from now and you would be like, oh no, man, those were great choices. Where was I? And I'm like, right?
Dude.
All right, off my soapbox.
I can't do this.
Moving on. Bernabe Butterteeth at Dantes_Belmont. I love that name.
Still got it. He says, book adaptation, The Godfather. That is the standard. I have read that book. I have seen that movie. I think that movie is an amazing, amazing movie, and it deserves all the accolades that it has. But it is very, very close to the source material written by Mario Puzo, the book of The Godfather. That is a really good answer as well, my friend. Really good answer. I like that a lot. LTL Mike BC at LTL Mike BC. He says, in terms of accuracy, the Death Note manga stayed very close when it became an anime, but that's not abnormal. However, the first time they did live action stuff, I was shocked at how close it stayed to the source material, especially in the first movie. So here's the deal, Mike. I'm going to take your word for it because I've never seen Death Note manga. I've never seen any manga that I can think of. I haven't heard of this thing that he speaks of.
Google it. You'll find it. But I'm saying, like, I've never seen it, so like I can't one way or another, but I'm glad, though, that's cool because this isn't like, normally I get a lot of the book to movie adaptations. This is like a comic, like a manga, like a Japanese kind of comic that then became an anime, that then became live action. So it's been adapted a number of times into a number of different formats, and it stayed accurate pretty much in all of that. That's pretty darn cool. I like that. Matt Knight at Skinny Matt K going on says, I'd have to go with Scott Pilgrim versus the World movie. It's the perfect blend of love action mixed with comic book visuals. Just look at the visuals during the Battle of the Bands segment. Then add Captain Marvel makes an appearance. Scott also defeats Captain America and Superman. Then he goes to Craig, says live action. Love action is a different type of movie altogether. So to go back, he says the perfect blend of live action mixed with comic book visuals.
It's a good correction.
That makes more sense. Yep. Have you seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World?
Definitely. Absolutely.
What did you think of that?
It's got my boy Michael Cera. Here's my honest opinion on it. It's a good movie. There were parts where I got bored. It's been a hot minute. I'm gonna say, I don't know how long's it been out, because that's when I saw it.
Probably in the mid 2000s.
15 years,
maybe. Yeah.
So it's been a long time since I've seen it, but I do remember really liking it and loving the visuals, specifically the melding of the real world and the comic book. I thought that those parts were my favorite, and it got a little slow for me though.
I felt like it was slow, and I remember not finishing it.
Yeah.
But it was a comic book, though, I believe, correct?
I don't know.
Again,
I'm learning new things. He said Scott Pilgrim versus World. I went, what? I had no idea.
I think it was comics, or maybe it was a book. Maybe it was like a children's book, even.
It sounds like it might have been comics, though, just because he talks about comics in his comment to us, and then there are comic book visuals too, or it could be a book about comic book. Hey man, we could go down this rabbit hole. No idea.
You know, there's a thing called Google.
Yeah, while you're Googling that, I liked Ready Player One. I'm just going to throw that out there. I read half the book, and I thought Ready Player One was really a cool movie. Just going to throw that out there. I liked it.
I actually, you know, kind of with that, I actually loved the book, and I loved the movie. And what I really loved, though, is that it was done in a way, by the way, Scott Pilgrim's graphic novels, they're comics. Okay. I loved it that it was done by Ernest Cline, the author, who helped really write the screenplay, so that it felt very similar to the movie, even though
there were some differences.
Yeah, I mean, all of the challenges that are in the movie are completely different in the book.
Right.
And like normally that stuff would like drive me nuts, because I'd be like, why'd they change all that? That stuff was great. But I realized some of that stuff they couldn't use due to licensing and other things. But it still felt very, very true to the actual book, because it was the author of the book writing the screenplay. Yeah. And so like it felt good still.
Yep.
Did I say something wrong? At DISSW Cast says Cloud Atlas. And there's a little gif of a plate blowing up. I've never seen Cloud Atlas. It was something though that it's on my list of things to watch. And I'm positive that's a book.
I will take your word for that as well.
And then Wendy at Doll Loves Wrestling says Harry Potter. And it's just a little gif of Dobby snapping his fingers.
I agree, obviously. Wendy, good choice.
And then we're going to go over to Instagram.
Oh, we got lots of answers this week.
This is Pipwink on Instagram.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Now, if you know who Pipwink is, that's our mother-in-law.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds far too familiar to be a coincidence.
So this is Chris. Okay. She says, Lord of the Rings by far, and I'm old, so I know.
Oh, she's always saying she knows.
I'm going to agree with all of her comments in that statement right there. She would know.
She would know. That's true. I'm not questioning that. I'm good with that, Chris. I think it's a great answer.
It is.
That's why we talked about it for like an hour.
That's right.
It's so good.
Well, thank you, seriously, Super Friends, for all your answers this week. We do look forward to your interaction, and we got quite a lot of it this week. I was able to respond to a couple people kind of quick, but we love it. We love it.
Yes,
we love it.
Thank you. This is great.
Matt, how can the Super Friends help us out this week? What can they do?
Find us on iTunes, subscribe, and like. Leave us, or subscribe and like. I'm watching too much YouTube. Subscribe and leave a review. Again, 5 stars, regardless of your experience or your personal feelings about us. 5 stars. If you want to give us 3 stars, give us 5 stars, and then we'll subtract the stars after you're done.
Mentally. We'll mentally subtract
yes,
them. Yeah.
just leave your honest 5-star review. Thank you.
I don't know. Leave your honest 5-star
Yes.
review. So if it just says nothing, but it's 5 stars, we're good.
You're
man.
honest.
All right, Matt. Big weekend.
Oh
We
my
just
gosh.
had so much stuff to discuss, and I
So
know
much.
you have been chomping at the bit,
Oh, man, there's so
and
much.
so have I. So, there was something that happened this weekend. Do you want to tell the Super Friends what it was?
Well, we had D23. Big official fan club of Disney's D23, and they had their big expo Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where they dedicate time to certain things Disney in segments and days and panels and such. It's basically Comic-Con specifically for Disney.
For Disney,
kind of think
yeah.
of it like that. It's really cool. It gets bigger and bigger. It feels like every year they hold back things from things like Comic-Con for D23 because they want to make this big event. It's awesome. So we had tons and tons of information that applies pretty much directly to this podcast and the things that we discuss here. So
let me ask you this, because there's a lot to talk about.
there is.
Do you want to stay like themed? Like, do you want to do like Star Wars stuff and then Marvel stuff and then like park stuff? Or do you want to just kind of like whatever you want to talk about, scatterbrained, we'll just follow a conversational thread and just kind of go
Make sure that we cover it all in some manner, because they split it up as their segments are like, they didn't do like a Star Wars segment.
No.
They kind of split it up. And so we could do it either way, I guess. I'd rewire my brain because they do it differently. But here's what I want to talk about first. I'm just going to go for it.
Just
Go
hit me with what you want to go with first.
The thing that I was most excited to hear about, that I was following live on Twitter, refreshing constantly, was Disney Plus. I could not wait to hear more about Disney Plus, what they were going to offer, and I just had this feeling they were going to drop some trailers finally so we could see some of the content that they've been talking about. There's a lot of things I was really excited to see. Obviously, the most excited thing I was to see. Wow, that is a horrible sentence. Speaking like Yoda.
Just go with it.
Because
Just
I'm
go
going,
with it.
The Mandalorian. I could not wait.
Yes.
I'm talking faster than my brain can.
Yeah,
catch up.
so they had the Mandalorian trailer,
Yes.
right? And that's something like we got, I want to say like a teaser trailer of the Mandalorian a while ago, but it was like little tiny
nothing.
bits, right? This is more of like a full trailer. I still feel like we don't have any real knowledge of like
Story.
how the Mandalorian gets there, but obviously we know he is a bounty hunter.
Yep. That's
And he's out on the fringes. It looks like he starts on Tatooine. Like it has that Tatooine feel to the
it does.
to the planet.
Yep.
Man,
It looks
gosh,
so
does
good.
that thing look so good. I mean, the opening shot's a whole bunch of stormtrooper helmets on these pikes, which like reminds me of like the end of like Return of the Jedi, right? And this is supposed to take place like what? I think like 5 years after the
real
fact,
quick
maybe.
after. There's supposed to be this lawlessness about it, right? This Western feel, because the Empire's just fallen. And the Republic there, I mean, there isn't. It's just rogue. So I'm so excited to see the kind of stories that they're going to tell. And
you know what the cool thing is? This reminds me of, and I may be wrong, I may be totally wrong, but do you ever watch any of the old Clint Eastwood movies, like the Man Without a Name, kind of like where his character doesn't have a name, but he just kind of roams around, like Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Have you ever seen any of that?
Yes.
This to me has that feel. It's like he could be Clint Eastwood, like he's just out on the frontier doing whatever he's got to do to like make a buck.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like complete, like you said, complete lawlessness, but yet it's Star Wars. And I'm like, if they freaking open with like the theme song from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Ecstasy of Gold, if they would have opened like that trailer with that, I think I would have lost my mind. I think I just would have ultimately geeked out so hard.
Oh man.
Matter of fact, I may recut that to have that song in there just for my own personal viewing pleasure.
There's no problem with that. But I was just, I was expecting it to be high quality, but still taken aback at how looks like a movie. Like they put that
Yes.
much work into it. It's not
Yep.
kind of sort of effort.
It's not a network TV show.
No, this is like, like HBO. I mean, they're putting money and time
Yes.
and casting and costume and dress setting it absolutely, I'm so excited for it. I haven't even heard him talk yet. I don't even know what he sounds like. Is he gonna talk? I don't know.
I know the actor that they cast to play him.
Yes.
And I think that if they don't have him take the bucket off, if he doesn't take his helmet off and like have some conversations and talk with people,
Yeah.
like I get that you could make that work, but you need to have that kind of, you're going to need to have some sort of moments where you humanize him a little bit more so that I think the fans, the audience can relate to him on a human level.
Yeah.
So I think the helmet is going to come off and we are going to get to hear him speak. And I know that actor, and I'm all up in this. Like that, it's going to be great.
It's gonna be fun. So, got our first glimpse into that, which is what I wanted the whole time. I was waiting, and because I had to kind of get through some of the drudgery of the announcements at Disney Plus. I mean, there were tons of good stuff before that, but just going with what I was most excited about with The Mandalorian, and then.
And it releases day one.
Yeah.
That is key. Like
It's
November 12th, day one. Here's what I thought was really cool too, Matt.
yes.
Mostly with like Netflix or Hulu, they drop a new show. Amazon, like with the Jack Ryan stuff, which I loved. They drop a new show and it's all available so you can stream it immediately.
Right.
No. Disney Plus is doubling down on the, we're
Weekly.
going to release it weekly.
Yeah.
And I went, it's the format that people are used to with TV, but it's not the format people are used to with streaming. But I think what it does is it's going to give people that water cooler moment to talk about it through the next week and to build anticipation for the next episode.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's genius. I think it's the great way to go.
It is. It's brilliant. At first I was like, oh man. But then I was like, the excitement and joy I feel when Stranger Things is released, to get that more often. Be like, oh, it's midnight. Should we watch it now, Jess, or should we wait till tomorrow? Or there's a lot of, I don't know. I think it's a great idea. And I was like, oh, the podcast, we could do a weekly Mandalorian, like 5-minute segment where we talk about this week on the Mandalorian. And then when the Cassian Andor thing comes out, ooh, this week. It's just.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that show got a little more fleshed out as well with.
Yeah.
I mean, we already knew kind of what it was about, but we got a time period, right? Like I think you said, like 3 years. It's going to take
so it's a
place
prequel to
3 years
Rogue One.
before Rogue One, where we find, because he's seen some things, right? When you see Rogue One, you're like, he's done some things and he's seen some things, and we're gonna do those things and see those things, and I'm really interested in that, and he's just so excited about it. It's contagious. He loves playing Cassian Andor. I think that's the right name. He absolutely Andor, loves playing him. And Alan Tudyk is just along for the ride. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm wearing a stupid costume, but it's exciting to see the excitement they have for it. I mean, we didn't get any more information really other than that from them, but it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, what I really like about this whole thing is Disney Plus, they're really putting a lot of money, a lot of effort into a lot of shows. They're going to have a lot of original content and streaming stuff, but that they're really building on like 5 big brands, right? I mean, it's Marvel, it's Star Wars, it's the Disney movies, it's the Pixar, and then it's going to be like the National Geographic.
Yep.
Like, it's really like, instead of saying like, we're going to try to do everything okay, it's saying like, we're going to dial in on these like kind of like 5 big IPs, and we're going to put all of our effort there.
Yep.
And I think that's a good idea, especially early on. As they go and they get bigger and they do really well for themselves, they'll branch out and do more.
Sure.
But
no,
that's how it is.
It's awesome.
So can I talk about something that I think
yes, of course,
was
please.
A massive, massive announcement? It's been rumored. It's been talked about on and off for years. Ewan McGregor finally confirmed he is coming back to play the role of Obi Wan Kenobi. and it's going to be on freaking Disney Plus. It's going to be a show that's going to revolve around him 8 years after Revenge of the Sith. So this is going to be when Luke is about 8 years old. He's going to be on Tatooine.
Oh my
He's going to be watching over a young Luke, but he's also going to have his own adventures. Ewan McGregor for years has literally said he would want to go back and play that role again.
Yeah.
He loved playing that role. He also had a link to the previous Star Wars because his uncle played Wedge Antilles. He was related to him. So the Star Wars has been like in his blood and like his wanting to be a part of that for so long. And then he got to do it for 3 movies, and then he did, the voice and the animated stuff.
Yep.
But now he's coming back. This is a massive announcement. I mean, he is a massive star.
Yep.
And he's coming back. We talked about this a little bit.
Yeah.
We're gonna get to see a young Luke Skywalker.
Yep.
We're gonna get to see a young Obi-Wan Kenobi again. Now, I say young. This is still 8 years after
Middle
Revenge of the Sith, when they've started, aging him up a bit, so he will look more like Sir Alec Guinness did when A New Hope started.
Right.
But still, there could be a
There's
lot of
so
stuff.
many stories that you could
So this
tell.
this all is supposed to take place kind of around the same time that Solo, a Star Wars movie,
right
takes
in the
place.
middle when you look in the timeline where it starts and versus where Solo ends. They put a squiggle right in the middle. So we're going to see crossover in those stories. That's what that means to me.
Jabba?
We're going to get information on the Crimson Dawn. We're going to get information from... we'll see Jabba. I'm almost positive we'll see Jabba.
Yep.
I don't know that we'll see Darth Maul because that kind of screws things up with Star Wars Rebels and some of the driving force behind who Darth Maul is that we get from Rebels. However, we could see him and just Darth Maul doesn't know, right? There's definitely that possibility, and they'll try and do that, I'm sure.
I guarantee who we won't see in this series, Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, just because we know that he's completely forgotten about the backwoods planet that he was born and raised on and whatnot.
Yep.
And we know that he doesn't even consider that until years and years and years and years and years later. So we're not going to see that. We're not. And I wouldn't want to see any Anakin Obi-Wan crossover. Now, will we hear about Anakin? Will we hear about Obi-Wan's maybe failures, maybe his regrets on, his past? Yes, absolutely, because that goes into his character and his psyche.
Yep.
But I don't think we're going to see the two of them meet up because that totally would then invalidate the meeting in episode 4.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
Yeah.
Lots of cool things, though.
But I'm excited.
So many
I'm
cool
excited.
things. We may even see, I don't know who we'll see. Could be anybody.
I know, it's like we could speculate here for a long time, yeah.
That was the big one that happened, and that's how they closed the show, right? Kathleen Kennedy was like, we got one more surprise, and we all knew what was coming. And then Ewan McGregor stepped on stage, and it just was madness from there, so...
We did also get a sneak peek of some Rise of Skywalker footage.
Oh, man, I read about it, and then it finally came out this morning that we got to see, and that was way different than I was expecting.
So what I loved about this is that they start off this trailer, and it's like a 2-minute trailer, but they're not going to give us 2 minutes of Rise of Skywalker.
Teaser.
So they basically kind of start off with this wonderful piece of music that's got all these Star Wars themes. But they start at episode 4 and they show us all of the big characters, Luke, Han, Leia, and then they kind of show, the whole, Death Star stuff. And then they kind of go into the Hoth stuff and Yoda, and they're showing Empire stuff and Vader. And then they go into Return of the Jedi, and we're seeing this. I was wondering if then they were just going to jump right to the Rise of Skywalker stuff, because thematically, that storytelling. Right. But then they jump back and they show the prequel stuff, and I was like, okay. Which admittedly, I thought better of the prequel stuff with the music behind it and the fact we were only getting little snips of it.
It was way shorter than the original trilogy got. Way shorter. Disney knows what's up.
And then we see some Force Awakens, some Last Jedi stuff with this music, and then we start getting this voiceover. We've taught her all we can. We've prepared her. Da 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 da. And then we see some shots, and it's not a lot. I mean, we see a shot of Poe and Finn, and I think Rey and C-3PO in a desert kind of area. We see C-3PO with red eyes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all the different things we saw. We saw a little bit of action, this and that, but then right at the very end, we see a shot of Rey holding like what looks like 2 lightsabers, but then she flips it down and it becomes like one like full baton, think like Darth Maul lightsaber. And I was waiting for Emperor Palpatine's like cackling laugh because that's how they ended the other one. Right. I was like, that would have been perfect to do that again. And I kind of sat there and went, okay, because we do see Rey fighting with Kylo Ren, it looks like.
Yes.
And I went, this to me is like, in my opinion, I understand that this was put in because it's a big, exciting moment that's going to have people talking. But to me, just felt like this is either a vision she has or a dream sequence. Uh-huh. It's something along those lines. Because I doubt that they're going to end this whole story that's, spanned generations, which every time they say a story, that defines a generation, it's like, okay, are we talking about the family, the Skywalker family? Because honestly, that's a few generations, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Or we're talking about the fans because it's multiple generations. Yeah. Anyway, that's semantics. I know, it just bugs me. But you can't end on such a down note. No. That would be such a weird way to end all of this. So I think it's just a red herring. I think it's to throw you off the scent of,
what's really
all the things that are going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but it was so cool.
I mean, it's cool. I mean, regardless, we're going to see some form of a dark Rey, whether it comes to fruition that it's actually Rey, which I think is the least likely scenario of all of the scenarios that I think about in my head. I think the most likely is, like you said, it's an Empire callback sort of a thing where she's confronting herself, in a more, I don't know, not evil form, I guess. But there's a lot of different theories that you could run with, lots of cloning ideas and how Palpatine plays into all of this. And, we hear his voice in the trailer. I forget what he says. I'd have to go back and watch it again. He says your time, I don't know. I forget. Anyway, I liked the trailer, but I, like you, felt like I could have gotten away without watching it. It just didn't do much. I mean, the beginning where all the things I'd already seen in my life, I liked that more.
Right.
I did like what appeared to be Kylo Ren and Rey. I can pretty much confirm that, but it looked to me like they were fighting on the bit of the Death Star that was in the ocean that we saw in the first trailer for Rise of Skywalker. Yeah. So I'm going to assume that that's where that confrontation takes place. And I don't know about Creepio with the red eyes. I mean, that could be a number of things. My assumption is the resistance is so low on help that they have reprogrammed and taken out the cautiousness from 3PO and made him this bad A fighter. Because he's everywhere in all these trailers. He's with like Poe on this like speeder in the desert in the first one, and you're like, how did that happen? I mean, this guy's the biggest worrywart in the galaxy.
It's Goldenrod. He's not, gonna get involved, but I don't know. We did see a couple quick shots of like a ton of Star Destroyers.
Oh man, those were Imperial
and other ships,
though. They weren't like First Order.
Right.
That's crazy.
So for me, I keep thinking maybe they're going to bring back like the whole idea of the Katana fleet, but that's Dreadnought class, and it's, a book series that no longer technically canon. And so like, to me, it's like, maybe they will take the idea of that. Maybe they'll have like a whole bunch of like slaved Imperial Star Destroyers that they brought back. Yeah. I don't know, but it looked cool. Even if it's just a red herring, even if that's not in there.
Right.
Oh, visually, it was awesome to look at.
I agree,
but
it's going to be cool.
Yep. So I don't know. I'm trying to think what else.
That was pretty much Star Wars. I feel like I'm trying to figure out.
They did talk also about whatchamacallit? The Clone Wars, the animated show.
Yeah. That's coming in 2020?
Yes, 2020.
February?
Or is it? or is it 2022? No,
I think
2020.
it's February, like of this coming.
Yeah.
Which is going to be awesome because I'll be honest, I have not seen the Clone Wars. I watched Rebels and I loved it, but I never felt the need to see Clone Wars because I felt like I knew what happened. I knew what the end result was. But now I'm going back and I'm like, I want to go watch that series. It has all these cool characters.
I watched parts of it here and there. The problem is there was like a Clone Wars movie, and then there's the Clone Wars show. And I remember trying to watch the first season of the Clone Wars show, and I felt like it time hopped a bit, and like it didn't quite make sense. And maybe that's also because the way it was released, but then when it came to streaming on Netflix, like they put it back like in a different order, like how it was released, but not maybe how it should be watched.
Okay, yeah.
And we've seen other shows that have had that before.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely gonna get Disney Plus, and I'm definitely gonna go back and watch through the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It's like one of the only ones I have not seen.
Yep.
But
I'm excited for that, actually.
We are going to get a 7th season to finish that out. They did also talk about some comics and some like books and things that are going to happen and come out. I mean, lots of stuff, obviously, but of course, the big thing is all the stuff coming that's Star Wars to Disney Plus.
Yes.
So
very cool. Some other fun Disney Plus things that are not Marvel and Star Wars related. Look, we already know. When we talked about back to school movies, I talked about High School Musical. I'm excited because there's a TV show called High School Musical, The Musical, The Show, or something like that.
It's a very, very straightforward name that sounds not confusing
Not confusing at all. I had no idea what it was about. And then I watched a trailer and I was like, oh, I get it now. It's kids in a high school putting on the musical, High School Musical. So they're trying out to play the parts of the people in. It's very meta, very Inception. Anyway, just so everyone out there knows, I'm excited for that. Also, Lizzie McGuire, for all you Lizzie McGuire fans out there, is also coming back. Hilary Duff is playing herself, a 30-year-old in New York City. So,
So as the Super Friends probably can hear by the tone in my voice, and Matt can tell by the expression on my face.
I'm speeding through it.
You are going to have to tell me how that goes, because I'm probably not going to be watching High School Musical, the musical, or anything Lizzie McGuire.
I'll probably skip Lizzie McGuire. That was past my time, to be honest.
No, you brought it up. Now you must follow through and let us know how it is.
Fine. I'll watch Hilary Duff in New York City.
Twist my arm. Ow,
Dang it.
Right?
Gosh. That's
Jessie will watch that, right? Was she in Lizzie McGuire territory?
More so than me. My sisters watched it, and that's the only reason I know anything about it. It was annoying to me as a 16 and 17-year-old. I thought it was stupid, so I don't know anything about it. I just thought it was crazy they were bringing that show of all the shows back. I didn't know it was such a hit.
That nostalgia thing, though, it's working.
But yeah, and then Lady and the Tramp trailer was cute. I thought that one, that'll be a cute little show. And the Jeff Goldblum show looks cool. I love anything with him in it, though, so I will watch that.
Right. Yep.
Watch the crap out of it. Check the trailer out, all y'all, because it's good.
So I did see some of the stuff about Moon Knight and She-Hulk.
Yeah.
Which I'm a little surprised, right? Because obviously we know that Marvel is going to be a focus of Disney Plus, and we know that the whole deal with Netflix, which we've talked about on this podcast, like Daredevil and Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, that we know that these shows cannot reappear here for a couple years. Still, we're probably talking 2021 at the earliest for some of these.
Right.
So Marvel has rolled out some stuff. I mean, we know about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we know about Loki, and we know about, some of that stuff. But then they announced Moon Knight and She-Hulk. And She-Hulk is kind of like, it's kind of similar to Hulk, but in the sense of kind of like where Hulk is at the end of Endgame. So She-Hulk is able, she basically can kind of control her episodes of kind of hulking out, and she retains her intelligence. So her story is she's kind of like, I think, the niece of Bruce Banner, and she basically has a blood transfusion that was, contaminated with gamma rays. And so she's a lawyer by day and a She-Hulk by night or by, kind of sometimes during
Right.
the day when she needs to do her She-Hulk thing. I like the idea of this in theory, but I'm also a little worried that this could feel like the 1980s Hulk TV show, if not done like, she's going to be like a lawyer, kind of similar to Matt Murdock, and then at night she's going to Hulk out and then go rampage around. I mean, I'm not saying it can't work. I'm sure it will. This is Marvel, and they're doing great things.
Yeah.
But that's one that I'm actually a little leery about because She-Hulk is not... she's not as big, obviously, as the Hulk in terms of popularity and zeitgeist and people knowing her. And as we start getting further and further and further kind of down the kind of the pecking order, you have to nail it just right. And I'll give you a perfect example. Daredevil is a more known character. The Netflix show did a really, really good job. Iron Fist is less known. And Iron Fist, especially that first season, got just ripped apart.
Right.
It was not as good as the Jessica Jones stuff or the Daredevil stuff or the Punisher stuff that came out later. And it meant well. It looked good, but just like there was a lot lacking story-wise.
Yeah.
And my worry is if we get too far down the pecking order, if it's not like on-point storytelling and it's not done just right, it could end up kind of being like the Iron Fist thing, where it's like, it only really appeals to like super hardcore fans. I also think we kind of have this same scenario possibly with Moon Knight. And Moon Knight is not a character I'm very, very familiar with.
Looks cool. I looked him up. Looks cool.
Yeah.
But that's about all I know.
It kind of has a feeling of the Punisher, to be honest, like a U.S. Marine. He left the military to become a mercenary. Something goes wrong. He's left for dead. And then a bunch of people in the desert find him and offer him up to their ancient god deity. And he's given a second chance. And so he takes on fighting crime as Moon Knight. Could it be cool? Yes. Is there a way that it could be done well? I think so. But once again, it feels a little lesser tier, and I'm just hesitant. That's all. I'm not saying it's gonna be bad. I'm not gonna crap all over it because I don't think that's the case. But I'm just very, very hesitant of these. I knew of Daredevil. I knew of the Punisher. I knew of Luke Cage and Iron Fist and Jessica Jones. They're a little more well known, and so they were good things to do for Netflix.
Right.
These are a little lesser known. However, let's be honest, Iron Man, unless you were an avid comic book reader, Iron Man was one of a lesser known entity, and that was the property they used to kick off the entire MCU.
Yeah.
And look what Robert Downey Jr. did for that role.
And if I'm not mistaken, they also announced Miss Marvel as another show. To me, here's my thing. I like Marvel. It's too much Marvel. 6 TV shows? 6? I'm like, just make 3 good shows? And
now,
then
in fairness, they're not all dropping day one.
No, and none of them actually are dropping day one. They're all dropping sometime. Well, some of them are dropping next year. I don't know how far out Moon Knight and Miss Marvel and all that is. I'm not sure where they are when the pre-production or anything, but it just seems like a lot of Marvel, like a lot.
I agree. I think maybe you're not wrong. However, if they do it kind of like they do with the movies, and we get 2 of these series a year, and they release them every week, and so let's say maybe we get 10 or 12 episodes. You're going to have one series that'll run for like 3-4-ish months, and then maybe have a little bit of a break, and then another one that'll run for 3-4-ish months, and maybe they even get 3 in a year. I don't think it'll seem like too much Marvel on Disney Plus for the streaming. Now, if they dropped them all at the same time, absolutely that would be overkill.
It seems like a lot. I hope there's some variety in the way they're doing it, which is why I was happy when they talked about WandaVision, that show being half sitcom and then half like an adventure action story. And to me, that's I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know what that looks like, but at least it's interesting and a different pace than what I'm used to when I think of Marvel TV shows and movies. I'm like, okay, it's just going to be this drama action. But I appreciate that they're trying something new, and I hope they continue to try new things and think more out of the box and not just stick to formulaic, because I just worry that it's just going to get too tired with all of the shows and all of the movies. And they've even said that we're introducing some of these characters through Disney Plus, and they will appear in the films as time goes on. So I think it's all great. I couldn't care less about any of the new stuff they announced. I pretty much only care about the Loki series, if I'm going to be completely honest. I'm super stoked on that.
I think Falcon and Winter Soldier could be cool.
It could be cool. We'll see. I like the Winter Soldier. I like what's his name, Sean Sebastian, who plays him.
Sean Sebastian.
I like him.
Stan
Stan
Sebastian.
Thank you. I like him.
All of a sudden, I'm Gwyneth Paltrow right now, and I can't even remember him. And I've talked about him before, anyway.
But anyway, yeah, we'll see how that all turns out with Marvel. But I definitely understand your concern, and I have my own concerns as well as it pertains specifically to Marvel in general. But these new, they're not new IPs, but new to media consumption in this form. So,
yep,
we'll see.
Yep. Man, I'm trying to think. We got information about, some of the new. They showed previews and like a little bit of like things from like the new Black Widow. Like some, they brought out some stuff and were showing some like concept art and some other things. So they got a lot of that, but they also did talk about the expansion in the Disney parks.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're bringing Avengers Land to, I think Epcot is where they're going to be bringing that, at least in Disney World. And they talked about like how they're going to be kind of taking that over. And I think Avengers Land is going to be in Disney's California Adventure in California. And so they kind of showed off some of the things they're doing and the things they've kind of got in mind. I look at this kind of like the Star Wars Land stuff. Like, it looks cool, but it's all very concept-y right now.
Yeah.
And until we get a lot closer, it's kind of really hard to get super excited. One thing I did find that was really kind of cool, though, is that they talked about, like, here's this and here's that, and they showed some kind of concept art, and they gave, like, some names to some of the stuff. And one of them was WEB, which stands for Worldwide Engineering Brigade, except WEB is hyphenated, and it's kind of like in this area that's like very kind of Spider-Man, Peter Parker kind of themed. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Yep. That's kind of smart. And they showed a bunch of stuff. It just kind of makes me feel like the Spider-Man game that I've been playing. Well, I actually haven't been playing in the last couple of weeks because of work, but that's going to change this week. I'm going to hit back up the old Twitch and get back at it again. I don't know. When you look at this stuff, like, are you like, does the park stuff like really get you hyped up, or is this still a little too early for you?
It's medium, honestly. I'm kind of medium excited. Although anything Spider-Man, which is why I'm glad we frequent Disneyland way more than we do any of the other parks. We just do. Disneyland is kind of our home park. Even though we're kind of in the middle of the country, we still it's our home park. So we go there way more often, and I'm glad that at DCA, that's where the Spider-Man presence is going to be most felt. At least that's how it would appear from the concept art, and what we know about the attractions that are coming is it's going to be more, he's going to be more involved there. I think it's kind of cool. They kind of also outlined that there's going to be little stations all around the world at the Disney parks that are going to kind of play off of each other or be mentioned, and so it's going to create this larger world of the Avengers campuses. There are multiple of them, and it sounds to me like they're going to be unique in which characters are going to be featured in certain areas of the world. Obviously, it's smart because they want you to travel to all the parks because they want all your money, because Disney wants all of our money. Sure. And they can have it. But I thought that's kind of cool, kind of interesting. Again, it's super early. There's literally nothing more. We don't have any information on, what the rides are going to be like, if it's even going to be interesting at all. If I don't know. and I don't know how immersive it certainly can't quite be like Galaxy's Edge, where that can be. It would appear, I have not been yet, but it appears to be completely immersive. This one, it's like, I mean, they just look like buildings, like I'm walking around a city.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how immersive that's going to feel yet. I mean, it is Disney, and they're the kings of immersing you in their parks. However, this just doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's a little early for me too.
It's early. We'll see.
It's kind of cool stuff, but we got to see it kind of come together and get a little more detailed concept art as it gets closer. Like that was one of the things like early on with Galaxy's Edge, like it was kind of a cool idea and some of the concept art kind of looked cool, but as it started kind of like getting a little closer, the concept art got a lot closer to what it was actually going to look like. And then I started getting a lot more excited.
Yep, I agree.
One last thing I think that was announced, the Marvel stuff kind of along with everything else, Black Panther 2 gets a 2022 date, May 6th. So it's kind of like right at that kind of like kickoff of the summer season of movies, which let's be honest, May is not the start of summer. However, in the movie world, that's kind of like the start of the summer season. Right. So Ryan Coogler is going to come back to direct it again, and we're going to get Black Panther 2. And then the last thing I got, and this was kind of cool, The Eternals, the show that I still don't know a lot about. It's getting Kit Harington, a.k.a. Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. He's going to be playing a character. I just like Kit Harington. And I heard that and I was like, yes, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So
no shame. I was a little bit... 2022 is a long way out for Black Panther, I feel like. I guess I was just surprised by that because Black Panther feels like it came out a while ago.
Which was still, what, 2018 though was when it came out?
Right, I think it was like February of 2018 though.
Yeah.
Like January or February of 2018. We're not getting it until 2022. It feels like a pretty long gap for a movie that was as massive as Black Panther was. So I guess I was just surprised. I'm like, well, what have you been doing the last 2 years almost? Just sitting on your hands, waiting to figure out what to do next? Did you write a script? Did you do anything with pre-production? Nothing? I guess I'm just surprised by that. I feel like that was a missed opportunity because that's a long way away.
Yeah, Black Panther was 2018, February of 2018. You're right. I just wonder... I wonder if the reason why it's got to be pushed out is just due to either the story they're wanting to tell,
right,
and they need a little bit more time to go by, and so narratively they want to have some other stuff happen first, so that it kind of ties in with where they want, or if maybe it's just a scheduling thing because you got a lot of, I mean, let's be honest, there's a lot of actors and actresses, a lot of moving parts, and they're locking them down, but like, you know, if they come in and say, oh, well, we want to do this, but now if we want to push the schedule up, we can't because of these other commitments. If we want to push it back, like I can imagine, like there's got to be a whole department that tries to figure out this. Like it's not like one person with an Excel spreadsheet. I promise you, this has got to be
Tom
a big
Holland's
deal.
Not available. Chris Pratt can make it in February. Yeah, that's a mess.
So. Matt, do you have anything else that you think we should really get into about D23? Like there was tons of stuff, but like
so much
I feel
stuff.
Like we're going to get lost in the weeds if we start getting too detailed.
I think that, that was pretty much it. That was all the big exciting things, other little exciting things, but that was the big stuff.
We got to figure out how we can get to D23.
That would be a blast.
That would be super cool. Leave the wives and kids behind.
Yeah, Jesse would be so thrilled. Nope.
Yeah, I think Brito would divorce
Not
me.
happening.
Yep. All right, so here's going to be our question of the week for the super fans, and we of course will answer it as well. What is the biggest thing you were most excited by from D23 this year? Matt, what would you say you were most excited by?
Obi Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus.
Wow. I'm going to go with The Mandalorian.
Okay, that's also acceptable.
I mean, it's a coin flip, if I'm being honest.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm gonna say The Mandalorian. There's a lot of good things, but The Mandalorian, yeah.
It looks so good.
So Super Friends, that's what we want to hear from you this week. Out of all the stuff that was announced at D23 over the last weekend, what are you most excited for? We will read those answers next week, and we look forward to hearing from you. Matt, once again, another great time. I'm glad we got to talk about this stuff. I know it's been killing us all week because we've not been talking about it, and we've been waiting till tonight.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got a chance to do it.
Absolutely. It's been fun.
Well, from all of us here at the Fortress of Nerditude to all of you out there, wherever you may be, may the Force be with you. Always.